Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. I'm Dharma Helper, and this is DH Reviews. This is my Season 2, Episode 5 review of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. If you missed any of my previous Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. videos, there will be a link in the description of this video, as well as an annotation behind me on the screen here that will take you right to that playlist, and you can watch all of those reviews and get caught up. Season 2, Episode 5 was called A Hen in the Wolf House. And in this episode, Hydra believes that they have a mole, and they start an investigation into finding who exactly that mole might be. Coulson and May come clean to S.H.I.E.L.D. about a few things in this episode, and they talk to S.H.I.E.L.D. about a few things, and they talk to us as an audience about a few things that might have been happening over the course of this second season, and the reasoning behind a lot of those things. And then in this episode, Raina struggles to stay afloat and struggles to find a way to satisfy Hydra and to satisfy Sky's father and to keep herself alive. And so that's her mission in this episode, is to find a happy medium between giving Hydra what they want and giving Sky's father what he wants. And Fitz in this episode continues to inch his way towards recovery, and we see a little bit of that in this episode. And that kind of covers the whole story of the episode. So talking a little bit, I think, about the characters, we should start off talking about Sky. And Sky in this episode, like I said, she comes to Coulson and May, and they have their confrontation. And Sky learns that the reason behind her being assigned to investigate these markings is to see if she would have an adverse reaction like Coulson had and like Garrett had to seeing the markings. And because Coulson reveals that as soon as he saw what Garrett had been drawing, it triggered something in his mind, and he began drawing similar drawings, and he felt that compulsion, and they wanted to see if Sky would have a similar reaction. And when she didn't, they formed a theory that Coulson and Garrett had an adverse reaction to the alien DNA in their system, and Sky did not, because she might be an alien herself. And so, to me, again, her being an 084, an object of unknown origin, I think that sort of speaks for itself, in that we already understand that she's not a human necessarily, or that she's not of this world. Her being classified by S.H.I.E.L.D. as an 084, I had thought already established that she might be an alien. So I don't feel that was handled very well, and I don't feel that could have been. I feel that could have been established differently or talked about differently in terms of the plot. Sky also in this episode confronts a lot of ideas about her father. She talks to Ward about her father, and Ward tells her that Raina knew her father. And then in that scene in the restaurant, she goes and she slips away from the team, and she tries to find her father, and she ends up finding those bodies. And she resolves with Coulson to, instead of meeting her father, she says, "I don't want to do that anymore. I'm kind of over it, and I will do whatever it takes to take him down, and I want you to know that." So to see that sort of flip of her mindset was a little bit disappointing. And I think, again, that sort of Sky's stuff could have been handled a little bit better in this episode. Talking about Coulson and May in this episode, they did that. They had that conversation with Sky, and they revealed that Sky might be an alien, and that they had been watching her over the course of the second season, and since S.H.I.E.L.D's second iteration, they've been watching her and monitoring her. And my thought was that, what if May's training of Sky had also played into her monitoring Sky? Like, May had been monitoring Coulson in season 1, and close to Coulson in season 1, and it looks like they're revisiting that. And Coulson had been using May to monitor Sky as well here in season 2. And part of me thinks that her training of Sky might be under under Coulson's directive of monitor Skye and make sure she stays in control. And maybe that heart monitor thing was to also keep an eye on her. And maybe that Coulson had instructed May to train her up in the event that they discovered Skye's abilities, or what sort of alien abilities she might have, that they had already trained her up so that they could turn her into a weapon. And that goes back to my discussion about how Hydra and S.H.I.E.L.D. this season have not been that different, and have been sort of employing the same tactics and playing the same game. And S.H.I.E.L.D. this season has been a darker version of the S.H.I.E.L.D. that I would have expected to see come from Phil's leadership and Skye's involvement and May's involvement, and that sort of rebirth of S.H.I.E.L.D. now that they don't have any Hydra agents involved in S.H.I.E.L.D. It's kind of curious to see that even without Hydra sleeper agents, and even without all this influence and all these secrets, that's still there, and they're still sort of on the same wavelength as Hydra in terms of their tactics and what they are willing and capable of doing. And again, I have to ask, because Coulson has that line, or he says something in the episode in terms of Garrett was gone, or maybe it was Ward that said that Garrett was gone as soon as he started drawing those markings. And I have to ask, is Coulson gone? Is this Coulson that we're seeing the result of the affliction or the adverse reaction that he's had to these markings? And are we seeing somebody who's not thinking clearly? Are we seeing a Coulson that the reasoning behind him making these tough decisions over these first 5 episodes, and these callous, sort of calculating, sort of Hydra-esque decisions, are we seeing that because of the effects of this marking? And are we seeing that because the Coulson that we know from season 1 is gone and buried behind all these markings and the adverse reaction that he's had to these to the alien serum? I'm almost afraid of what Coulson is capable of moving forward, and I think that might be the case. I think he might be gone and nobody's realized it yet. So talking about Simmons in this episode, again, the main point of the episode, A Hand in the Wolf House, refers to Simmons and her struggle within Hydra. But Simmons handles herself pretty well in this episode. Initially, she drops off the dead drop and the information to Coulson, and then she comes back and they start their investigation into maybe having a mole, and she has that quick thinking, and she sort of throws her lab partner to the wolves and throws him under the bus, and it looks like she might get away with it. And it looks like she's learning and she's actually capable in terms of being a secret agent and being a field agent. And then Raina has that whole thing where she reveals that that Simmons is the spy, and Simmons struggles to get out of Hydra, and it's revealed that Bobby, the security person for Hydra, was another sleeper agent that Coulson put in place, and Bobby and Simmons have a moment, and they sort of bond, and Simmons sort of looks up to Bobby, and they get out of Hydra, and they go back to S.H.I.E.L.D. And so the things I want to talk about in terms of Simmons are, number one, her relationship with Bobby, I think, mirrors Fitz and his relationship with Mac. And it's going to be interesting to see, now that they're back together, how Fitz and Mac are sort of on one side of things, and Bobby and Simmons are on the other side of things. And sort of what brings Fitz and Simmons back together, or if they just continue to go off and do their own thing with Mac and Bobby. Because Fitz, while he makes this realization in this episode that he doesn't necessarily need the support of his imaginary friend Simmons, I think he's also learning that he doesn't necessarily need the support of the real Simmons, because the reasoning behind imaginary Simmons was that real Simmons wasn't there, and real Simmons was somebody that he felt like he needed, and real Simmons was somebody that he felt like he was not capable of doing things without. And his realization that he's actually able to function without fake Simmons, I think, mirrors a realization that we're going to see over the course of this season, that Fitz is able to function without real Simmons. And I think that now that Mac and Fitz have established themselves as a friendship, and Simmons and Bobby have established themselves as a friendship, we're going to see more of that explored. And then briefly wrapping my thoughts here about Simmons, wrapping that up, the Fitz and Simmons reunion was underwhelming. It was something that I felt like would have had more impact, but it didn't. It kind of fell a little bit flat, but maybe that's just my opinion. I mean, maybe you enjoyed it and you had a different reaction to it, but to me, it felt like, oh, hi, how are you doing? And I wanted more from it. I wanted to see more from that. And maybe we'll see more of that next episode or a few episodes from now. But the initial reunion was a little bit underwhelming. So talking about, wrapping my thoughts about characters up, let's talk about Sky's dad, because we got a little bit more of a look into who Sky's dad is in this episode. And we start off, we see him, he's a doctor for what I assume are criminals, maybe bank robbers or somebody like that. And in this episode, we learn that he's been looking for Sky for her entire life, and that his reasoning behind keeping the obelisk is that it's the only way for her to understand who he is, and for her to understand who she is. And we learn that Sky's not her real name, apparently. We learn that Sky's father has anger issues, and that controlling his anger and controlling his impulses is a huge part in who he is. And when he's not able to do that, he ends up killing people and stuff like that. So he's afraid that Sky will see him as a monster. And it turns out that she actually does, because they have that whole scene where she sees that he killed those two guys that he was working on, and he sees that she sees it because he's got the cameras and stuff. And so he's afraid to confront her because he believes that she sees him as a monster. And at the end of the episode, he goes to Hydra and he proposes an alliance where he says, I will teach you about the obelisk if you help me kill, Phil Coulson and I guess everybody else. So I was surprised to see that he would go to Hydra, specifically because of the words that he had about Whitehall and how he referred to Whitehall as a butcher. And I think either he's really, 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 really desperate to try and wipe out S.H.I.E.L.D. and bring Sky back into the fold, or he's using Whitehall and his resources. And I think the possibility that he's using Whitehall is a little bit more likely. Overall, I enjoyed what I saw from Sky's dad. I like that we see that he's struggling and that he's not necessarily a bad person, but that he has these impulses and that he has these abilities that he's not able to fully control or grasp. And I want to see if that happens to Sky, and if she starts to have these impulses, and if she starts to have these abilities manifest. So I like what we saw from Sky's dad this episode, and I want to see more from him as we move into the second season. So talking a bit about my general thoughts on the episode, I want to talk about the Sky and Sky's father storyline. And in that scene in the restaurant, Coulson sort of does a head count, and he gets to Sky, and Sky's not there. And this is the part of the episode that disappointed me the most. I felt like the episode could have been a way better episode, and the season could have gone in a way better direction if Sky had committed to joining her father in this episode, or if Sky had met her father in this episode and they had gone off, and Phil had been maybe 1 or 2 minutes too late trying to bring Sky back. Because the way that they've set up this season, Sky resents Coulson for keeping a distance. And that distance, we've seen that manifest over these first 4 episodes, where she's very much resentful, and the two of them are more and more apart than they've ever been. So compound that with her desire to look for her father and her desire to understand what's going on with her father. And I think that would have made for a better payoff of having her say, enough is enough. Coulson and him, Coulson have been pushing me further and further away. And I want to learn more about who I am. So I've had enough. I'm going to go and disobey Coulson's order and go look for my father and go join my father. And I think that would have been a better direction for the season, because then maybe Sky's father could have been able to manipulate her into pushing herself away from the team and pushing herself closer to him. And I think that was the most disappointing thing for me for this episode. Talking about the Whitehall Sky's father alliance, that was okay. The Simmons thing with Fitz and Simmons, I was disappointed by that, and I would have wanted more from that. Overall, the episode I felt was probably the weakest episode so far this season, and slow and reminiscent almost of the sort of stutter-stepping episodes that I keep talking about, where they step around plots, or they delay plots, or they have a very difficult time determining the best way to pace out these episodes for season 1, and I felt like they returned to that this episode, and I was disappointed in that. But maybe I'm in the minority, and maybe you have a different opinion of that. So that'll do it for this episode's review. If you have anything you'd like to add about what I said or what I didn't say, leave a comment in the comment section. If you'd like this review, leave a like. That really helps me out a lot. If you want to see more reviews like this, subscribe to the channel and you will see those reviews as they come out. I do Gotham reviews on Tuesdays, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. reviews on Wednesdays, and Scorpion reviews on Thursdays. And then starting next week, I will do Constantine reviews on Monday. But starting this week, on Saturday, October 25th, at 6:45 p.m., I'm going to be live streaming my reactions to the Constantine premiere. I'm going to be live streaming. I'll watch the episode live, I will review it live, and you'll see my reactions live, and we'll be able to interact a little bit better. And that'll be the first ever live streamed review for this channel. So if you want more information about that, there will be a link in the description for you to follow, and that'll have more information about the live stream. Please get that information out there, and get this video out there. Share it on Facebook, Tumblr, Twitter, wherever you got to share it, because the more people that show up to that live stream, the better. And hopefully we're able to do more and more stuff like that over the course of the channel. And as the channel gets bigger, we're going to be able to do more live streams and more interactive stuff. I'm looking forward to that, and I hope you guys are as well. That's going to be a huge thing. So again, that's Saturday, October 25th at 6:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. There's more information for that in the description of this video, and I hope to see you guys there. With that said, I've been Dharma Helper, and this has been DH Reviews, and I will see you guys in the next video.